welcome to another episode of A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles. And I'm coming back to you hard with some fire conversations. And I've got a very well-known guest today. He's kind of a celebrity. But before I get into that, please like, share, and subscribe to this video and this YouTube channel. If you're already subscribed, hit that like button. That's going to help me. Hit that share button. That's going to help me too. And if you haven't already subscribed, what's your problem? What is going on in your life? Anyway, also, I want to let you know that this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com. Check out LibertyNation.com for all of your conservatarian news, original articles and analysis, videos, podcasts, Liberty Nation Radio, and their signature TV program, The Conservative Five. All on LibertyNation.com. Conservative news where truth matters. All right, so as you know, if you follow me, I'm still dealing with the Rona. I've now tested negative for the virus, but I've still got some of the symptoms. So if my voice sounds a little bit funky, if I have to clear my throat, or if I cough a little bit, that's the Rona, y'all. But it shouldn't be that bad. But the most important thing is the guest that I have for you guys today. I have none other than the illustrious founder of the X for Boys, King Randall.
What's going on, Jeff?
King Randall, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to hang in there, but I'm
glad.
I'm glad that we finally got to get together. I know this has been years in the making. Well, maybe not years.
Yeah,
but it's been a while.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I'm very excited about this conversation. I think my audience needs to hear all of what you have to say. So, without further ado, before we get into stuff, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, my name is King Randall. I'm the founder of the X for Boys program in Albany, Georgia. I founded the program when I was 19 years old. In 2019, just seeing a lot of different crime and literacy rates, et cetera, for a lot of the young men in my community. I started the X for Boys organization, and I started teaching young men how to work on cars and work on houses, such as painting, changing ceiling fans, changing toilets, whatever you can think of, sheetrock, also doing automotive repair, teaching them how to change brakes, change oil, change the tire, change alternators, whatever. We did as many projects as we possibly could. We've done firearms training. We've traveled all over the country, just trying to, give these boys different experiences. They've done welding, horseback riding. I mean, you name it. I have to kind of go through a full list of things that the boys have gotten to experience at such a young age. So those are some of the things that we've done with the boys. And right now we're in the process of opening the Life Preparatory School for Boys. This will be an all-boys boarding school that'll be opening in September of 2022. So we're excited about that. I just wanted to start the school because I started taking temporary custody of children in my home back 2 years ago. And after seeing the changes of the children actually being around in a different environment, that's when I knew I should do boarding as well, because a lot of their issues are mainly their environments that they're in. So if we can take them out of those environments where they're, committing crimes, et cetera, or just being around the wrong crowd, we could, have a significant decrease in the crime rate for boys, ages 11 to 17, and even with them joining gangs, et cetera. We just want them in a different environment. So that's kind of a really brief description of who I am and what I do.
Okay, yeah, and with your school and all that, I want to get into that. But this is a question that I've always had, and you've probably answered this before. How the hell does a 19-year-old get into mentoring young Black children? When I was 19, that was not what was on my mind. Like, how did this materialize?
Yeah, well, one of my friends, he went to prison, one of my classmates. We're the same age, and he went to prison. One of his family members killed someone. He wasn't at the crime, but he was told to hide the weapon. He hid the weapon, and he didn't find out until later what actually had happened. And he got 30 years, in that for that just hiding the weapon. He never had 30 years for that. He never had a previous crime, never had done anything, and he got nothing. He got 30 years for it, and I was just taken aback, sitting in the courtroom, just looking. I was mind blown. But just a lot of that again comes from environment and people they're around. So every time something happens in the city of Albany, we always had these community meetings, and let's come together and let's figure it out. Let's come together. Let's What can we do? And everybody's like, oh, we need more basketball programs, and we need more football programs, and we need this gym open, and blah blah blah. I'm just like, no, these kids need a mindset changing. I'm like, they don't need to play more basketball and football. I'm like, they need a complete mindset changing. And I kept offering different solutions and things like that. And people like to hear me talk all the time. People will request me to come talk here and talk there, but I'm just like, I want to actually do what I'm talking about. Like, let's actually do it. Like, let's not like just hear me say it. I want to actually do these things. So I started the Extra Boys program. The first thing I ever did was take them on a field trip. That was the first thing I ever did. January 2019. I took 20 boys on a field trip to the African American History Museum and Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta. And to see all those children asking those questions that they were asking, seeing them, interested, seeing them not wanting to be in their conditions, I knew that's where the actual change was going to happen, and that's what was working with those boys. So I started working with boys immediately after that. I did a oil change workshop. I taught 20 boys how to change oil on a car at my uncle's house. After that, I did a brake change workshop, taught 20 boys how to change brakes on a vehicle. So, everything started going, forward after that. And then I did a summer camp out of my house, summer 2019. I had 20 boys come to the house every day. Their parents dropped them off every day. And the boot camp was called Let Us Make Man Boot Camp. So everything we did, from growing our own food to taking field trips to teaching them how to work on cars and houses, everything was so beautiful. And that's where I discovered that the reading issues were a serious problem, because I had children, ages 11 to 17 in different grades who could not read or write. And I'm just like, who's passing you guys through school? I'm just like, how are you guys passing your tests, etc., to get to the next grade, and you can't even write, you can't even read. I know you don't understand the question, so how are you passing through school? And that was alarming to me. And that's where I had the school idea. And I told the boys, at that time, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm trying to open you guys to school one day. We're going to figure it out. And that's when I was working out of my dining room. I had a small dry erase board on my wall. And I would teach those boys every day, faithfully. I never not taught them. I taught them every day. We were watching videos. I was doing PowerPoints. I was drawing on the dry erase board. I mean, it was a lot. But that's kind of where I got the idea from. And, just like I said, just seeing, these kids need something. And then, of course, I was young at the time, and I'm still young. So a lot of them can relate to me. And it's a lot of stuff they can't get past me either. Like, you don't have any new tricks. I literally just graduated school like a few years ago. Like, there are no new tricks that you can slide past me. Like, I just did that last year. Like, what are you doing? So that's it's just something that's easier for them to relate to me and see a young Black man, that's successful and has something positive going on. It speaks volumes. And to become the most influential person in their lives is extremely important. When it's not a rapper, it's not a football player, it's somebody in your local community that's doing something, and you can see them every day, you can see them and work with them. So that's kind of where I got the idea from, and it's been working so far.
Yeah, there's a lot in what you said there. When certain things happen in Albany, and I hear about this all the time in other cities. Well, maybe we need more basketball programs or other extracurricular activities to keep these kids off the street. And I'm not knocking that at all. I think that's that's fine. But I think it sounds to me like when you saw this going on, you're like, okay, that's good, but that's not enough. We need to take this further. And
Right.
you mentioned, oil changes, something as simple as learning how to change oil. For most Black children coming up, that's going to benefit them more than just more basketball courts, because most people are going to make it to the NBA, right? They're not going to be able to make it. But you focus on teaching them skills that will help them as they grow up to get gainful employment or even start their own business. I mean, if you learn how to fix cars, you can start your own mechanic shop and make a lot more money than a lot of other people. So
Absolutely.
So I guess the question I want to ask is, what is the difference that you've seen between the program that you started and the other programs that you may have seen coming up in Albany, as you came up?
The consistency. I tout and I say proudly all the time that nobody is more consistent than I am, and the Extra Boys program is with the boys. From having them come live in my house, to taking them to school, to picking them up for band practice, to taking them where they need to go, to paying for their band fees or their skating fees or whatever they need for their different extracurriculars, getting them clothing, going to their houses at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for family crisis, etc. This is I live this. This is what I do every day of my life is work with my boys. I have times where I take a break here and there, but even on break, I'm still working. They're texting, they're calling. I got kids in college now. They're still asking questions. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? It never stops with me. It's never a break. It's not a thing where it's like a job. Like I do this every day. This is what I like to do. So the consistency is the main thing, and that's how you start to begin to see real changes in the children. It's not a one-day program. It's not you come once a week. It's not an after school thingamabob. Like it's a real thing where they have a full family. Like, and we're always doing stuff with them. We're always taking field trips, always doing workshops, always having people come in. Like literally, it's a constant thing all the time. And so when we start a boarding school, I don't even believe there are any boarding schools here. We start a boarding school, that would be unmatched consistency, and that's how you actually change your children. Real consistency. There are great programs here that do great work, but consistency on a consistent basis, like no breaks, no stopping, no nothing. We have something winter, fall, summer, spring. Every time there's something to do, we're doing it. Because boys need help all the time, not just during the summertime, not just during the spring, not just no, we have stuff all the time. We don't have a summer break. We don't have a spring break. We don't have a fall break, winter break. No, we have no breaks. We're working with the children at all times, because they need something to do at all times. So we have a summer program. We got the fall program. We got the winter program. We got stuff for them to do at all times. And that's extremely important, for our boys to be able to have. And like I said, the boys have a way of being able to contact me at any time they need to. I got over 60 kids in the program, and all of them got my number. They can call at any time. They can text me at any time. We're growing exponentially. We're growing so fast. And I have boys recruiting their friends, and more parents are reaching out, saying they want to bring their children. I have a family of a 9-year-old that was killed here in Albany a few months ago, and his mom is wanting to bring his brothers to the program and stuff. Like, this is what's supposed to be happening. I got former gang members in the program who been going to school and doing their work and getting out of these gangs and stuff. Like, it takes a little consistency, but it works. It takes time, and it works. And that's something I'm happy about. I've only had one child out of all the children that have come to me from the juvenile court system. Only one of those children have gone back to jail, and that was because I had to send him back home after staying with me for so long. And that's another thing about environment. I always say, that kid, and a lot of those kids from the juvenile court system, every last one of them were like an angel. Like when they stayed at my house, like they did everything I asked them to do. They made their beds. They cleaned up. Of course you have little spats here and there or whatever, but it wasn't nothing like major. I'm like, my family loved them, etc. But then as soon as they go back home, I get a phone call the next day, and he back in trouble. I'm like, dude, like he was just with me for like 2 months doing fine. Like, I had no issues with him sneaking out the house. He's doing his schoolwork, etc. He goes back home the next 2 days, and I get a phone call from the probation officer saying, "Oh, he's done this or he's done that." I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, but that's environment. So this the changes, and stuff that I see are extreme for me, and the consistency again is unmatched with our program here in the city of Albany, and I proudly say that.
Yeah, and you keep bringing up environment, and I'm thinking, a lot of people know that the environment is a problem in a lot of cases. I mean, whether it's getting out of gangs or even if it's somebody who is addicted to drugs, one of the ways you get them off of that is getting them out of the environment that they're in.
Yep.
And it seems like that's not always easy to do, but I think I don't see a lot of efforts to remove these children from their environment. Like you said, they do like a summer camp. And again, I'm not knocking that. That's good. But your program just takes them out of that environment and keeps them in a better environment so that they can develop and so that they can see that there's something outside of the environment that they were born into. Why do you think that others haven't been doing, or are there other organizations that are kind of doing what you're doing, or something similar to that, like focusing on a holistic effort instead of just saying, okay, we'll take them out for a few months or for a few weeks and that'll benefit their lives, but then it just doesn't work because they go right back to what they're used to. Are there other? I mean, how is this caught on? How is this has this not caught on a more grander scale, or am I missing something here?
Well, what I always say, for those like churches and things like that, these people benefit from these communities being in turmoil. They don't get the funding if the community is not in turmoil. They don't get the funding if the community is doing good. They don't get the grants when they can't say, "Oh, the communities is this terrible, and we need this grant for this, and this grant for that." They need the funding. So of course they're not really trying to holistically change these communities, because what my ideas, that I've implemented in just the 3 years that I've been, working with these children, they should have been done, in my opinion. I do an overnight summer camp. Our summer camp is overnight because those children are not in school. So I have to take them away from their environments where they be doing dumb stuff all day and make sure they're doing something positive. And also that alleviates pressure for their parents too. What they don't realize is those parents during the summertime have to feed those kids 3 times a day now. They don't have school, feeding them. So I take them and I feed them 3 times a day, and washing their clothes, taking them to the laundromat, et cetera, and all that. That alleviates a lot for a parent, not having to feed that kid. Even with the winter break, we do an overnight winter break program. Like, we have to, anytime the kids are out of school, we try to do something overnight. We try to keep them, because they're not in school now, so they're probably able to get out and just do anything. So I kind of try to monitor their social media accounts, etc. But I've said, multiple times, these organizations know what we need. They know what could change our communities, but again, they don't get the funding if not. Now, there are organizations, I've seen across the country who believe in a holistic effort, who've asked me for help, etc. And we're trying to create a blueprint for those people to be able to implement these different strategies in their organizations, and things like that. But for the most part, these major organizations, the ones running around their fist up, etc., these people aren't interested in actual change in our communities. We could have been doing these things. Imagine if I were to have a few $1 million, the things that I could do, and schools I could open, and programs I could implement for these children would be insane. And what we've been able to do with the little money that we have raised, for the past year, it's been exceptional. So again, these people could be making more change, and it's hard to find those smaller organizations that are doing work, because I've been doing this for 3 years, and there are still people to this day that if we never would have went viral, people were like, "I had no clue you were in Albany." They were like, "I had no," like, people living here, like, they were like, and Albany's not big. They were like, "I didn't even know you were doing this stuff." They were like, "I would have been supporting you," but people won't say anything. Of course, you'll hear about the Thanksgiving turkeys, the church may give out some free Christmas trees or whatever like that. You'll hear about that on the news, but you won't really hear like grassroots stuff that's really going on, where people are dedicating their entire lives to these efforts. But this is what I love to do. So it's not like a job for me. I don't get exhausted or anything like that. I love it. I do this every day. I love my kids. I love working with them. And, I love the fact that they love me too. So.
Okay. Yeah. And when I asked that question, I was hoping you weren't going to give me that answer. That is just people who are invested in keeping things at the status quo. But we know how this works. So I want to talk more about that. But before I do, I meant to ask you this earlier. Can you tell us about the city of Albany, Georgia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the city of Albany to me is a nice city. I grew up here. It isn't that bad, if you're actually here. But looking at statistics, we lead in everything bad. We like the number one. We're number one for poverty in the state of Georgia. At one point, we were number one for crime. We were in like the top 10 dangerous cities in the United States. We were at one point the fourth poorest city in the United States. I mean, we can get pretty terrible in regards to statistics. We were even number 2 in the world for COVID when it like first dropped. Like, we were right under Wuhan, like as far as cases, like, it was insane. And so many people here died and things like that. Like, we always lead in everything bad. This is one city Dr. King, said he'd never return to after failing because of the mindsets of the people here. And not even just that, the Chief Pritchett, studied Dr. King's movement and found a way to defeat him here in Albany. Like, it was just a lot, here in the city of Albany. But we've had some, really successful people come out of here. Some Super Bowl champions have, lived here. We've had Ray Charles was born here. We have a lot of people, that have come out of the city of Albany, but most of them never, if not ever, returned to do anything or help out with the community because they just hate it here. Everybody's like, I'm ready. Most kids' dreams are like, I just want to get out of Albany.
Right.
So that's that. But I just want to try and fix things for the city. I want to make this into a thriving city. We have no skyscrapers, no nothing. Our city logo has like two skyscrapers in it. I'm like, how y'all put skyscrapers in the logo? We have not one big building. Like, what's crazy is the nicest, biggest building in the city is a church. But that goes to show what I mean. But other than that, I believe we could fix the city, especially with those young men, just teaching them how to invest in their own communities and
Yeah.
get people to want to come here too. We can't even get businesses to want to come. Our mall is like a flea market. I mean, it's insane. Businesses are leaving all the time. We'll get like new restaurants and stuff, but no real business. I mean, of course, no major high end businesses will come here because of the cost of living. And the average person here has like, I think it's like the household income is like $20,000 or under, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
But we like number 14 in the US for hypertension. We have like so many dialysis clinics here, and the health is trash. We just got our first grocery store on the south side of town. So like the only food over on the south side to eat was McDonald's and Burger King and KFC and all that. So when people needed food, they have to go to the fast food restaurant because they ain't got cars and stuff. So they got to walk to fast food. But if you want real groceries, you weren't able to get none. So it's insane. But we just got that maybe like a month ago. And I'm trying to work with the U.S. Department of Energy to bring a greenhouse project to Albany to be able to put on our land, because I own 40 acres here in Albany, but we're trying to use 20 of it to put greenhouses on to do fresh vegetables and fresh food for people on that side of town, like, because the health is in our health disparities. I mean, it's insane how bad our health is here, and how long people are living. Like, you just have to go just type in Albany, Georgia statistics or something like that, and you'll just see all the stuff that's just really wrong with the city. I mean, it's insane. But that's Albany, Georgia, and I'm working on trying to fix it. I don't plan on leaving to go anywhere else, and people have asked me to move other places and help there, and I'm just like, no, I have my own city to look after. And I don't want to be one of those people, who leave the city how I found it or how I was born in it. So
Yeah, I mean that would be the easy road, and people would understand if you wanted to cut and run, but you're staying and fighting, so that's admirable. But you mentioned mindset though. There's something you said about
mhm.
mindset in relation to what Dr. King said about the city, and I think I've heard you talk about this before. Can you kind of tell me about how you see the mindset issue affecting Albany?
As a man thinketh, so is he. So whatever's in your mind is going to be produced outside. So clearly, looking at the city of Albany, it bears witness to the condition of our minds. And that's just the reality. If we do a complete mindset changing, especially with the young men and the boys and just younger children in general, I believe the city will fix itself. Just with us fixing their mindsets and what they believe in and what they want to do, and how they maneuver through life. We don't have a lot of men in the lives of these children in the city. We have a big problem with single motherhood in the city of Albany, and these boys are just there on their own. So it's insane. But back to what you were saying, the mindset changing is an uh extreme solution. For me, it is the solution. You have to fix the minds. You fix the mind, you fix the people. Like I said, as a man thinketh, so is he. So if we can fix the condition of our minds, we can fix the condition of our community. That's the only way it's going to change, and I only see that changing with young men and young women and children. Because most adults are kind of set in their ways. When you try to tell them something different or you give a different idea, it's always you're too young. Like, I've had people chastising me for the past 3 years about how I'm too young to be trying to teach boys how to be men, and I'm the only one with results, and they don't have any. So, but that's the reality of where we're at. So again, mindset changing. For a youth, it's going to take. I might see the changes in 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years, like the real changes I wish to see or whatever. But that comes with laying, the groundwork now, and working now. So that way we can reap the benefits later and, train all these children to go run for these positions and go be the new policemen and the new doctors and the new lawyers and the new judges and the new construction workers and the new mailmen. Like, you have to fix the entire community. So I just want to create husbands and fathers for those young men, or for the women in our community as time goes by.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were talking about with environment. I mean, the mindset issue and the environment issue seem to be
Mhm.
connected. I mean, And it's good because if you're getting these kids out of their environment for an extended period of time, then their mindset can change, or they can develop a
Right.
more healthy mindset to the point to where that they get to the point to where if they do go back into that environment, they don't still revert back to what that
Mm-hmm.
environment had them doing before. So I can see how all that is connected.
Right.
Now, one of the things, I mean, because I've seen a lot of your interviews, and one of the things that really makes me angry when I hear you talk about this is that, and you alluded to it earlier, there are some people who are just invested in not seeing things grow and seeing things get better. But here's where I really get mad. Some of these people are actually seem to be trying to stop you from doing what you're doing. It's one thing if you're just going to sit back and make it seem like you're doing something when you're really not. It's a
Right.
whole other thing to see a guy who is actually trying to make a difference and then trying to stop that guy. So can you tell us about a lot of this resistance that you've received?
Oh yeah. Well, mainly I know you're talking about the school system issue. So we were actually getting into it with our local school system because we were trying to actually purchase a school they had up for demolition. The school was actually not in bad condition. It's actually still sitting there to this day. But the school is not in bad condition at all. They're still paying the light bill on it, and nobody's in there. It's just vacant. The things happening in there is vacant, and we were trying to purchase the school from them. It was 20,000 square feet, 25 classrooms, no basketball gym. I had a lot of land, but we were just going to start somewhere. And I had, great ideas for the school, big classrooms. I mean, it was awesome, place, but they drug it out for maybe about, excuse me, they drug it out for about maybe 7 or 8 months or so. Was trying to, hash out a deal with them. And the superintendent would take 10 years to answer a message, 10 years to answer a text, 10 years to answer an email. It was insane. I would have to go up to the school board and ask him had he read the email that I sent them. Like, it was insane, and I knew it was insane because before, me and the superintendent were cool, before I had got into the school stuff. We would talk all the time. He would answer my texts all the time and answer my phone calls, blah, 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 all the time. It was never, he would always answer. He swear he was just so busy and just could not take the time to answer a text or answer a phone call, and things like that. So fast forward till us getting the actual contract drawn up. They wanted $500,000 for the school, first of all, which we didn't have a problem with because we was like, we'll just try and raise it, whatever like that. But we had an issue with the contract because it had 6 special stipulations in it. It was like it was ignorant stuff in the contract. And one of the main things in the contract, because all of them were, in my opinion, dumb, but the main one was that if we were to purchase the school, the deed of conveyance shall contain a usage restriction that we cannot operate a private or a charter school out of that building unless they taught the curriculum. And I was just like, what? I'm
You're
like,
the
that
one
don't
who
make no
these in
sense.
the
Like,
first place. I mean, you're the one like graduating people who can't read in the first place, but you want King Randall to let you teach his school, like
no,
essentially.
that was insane. And they tried to butter it up. It was like, oh well, we could get you the QBE funding, and we could, provide the school buses, and we could provide, the meals, and we could provide the teachers, and blah 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 blah. You could still teach the skill trades on the side, and you still could do the stuff on that you want to teach on the side, but we just got to teach core curriculum. No, I don't want to do that. That don't make no sense to me. I'm like, that's not what I want to happen. I want it to be our curriculum that we're trying to teach or whatever like that. But we tried to hash it out with them, and to no avail. So, excuse me, we ended up having to get another building. We ended up buying 3 buildings, which is our resource center right now. Our resource center is comprised of 3 buildings. I'm in one of them right now. And if you saw the light shut off, I didn't realize that our utility people were actually here working on a pole, so the lights cut off on me. But yeah, so I'm here at the resource center now. So we were originally going to turn our resource center into the school, and so we were just like, we'll just work with the smaller buildings for right now, and we'll grow as time goes by. And so we were here, doing book club and things like that. And then my former realtor reached out to me, and she was just like, hey, I got a school downtown for sale. You need to buy it. I'm like, a school downtown? I'm like, there's no schools downtown. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's no schools downtown. She's like, yes, it is. She was like, it's a former church that has a school attached to it. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, I know a church down there. I'm like, well, a school? I'm like, I know they had a daycare. I'm like, but a school. And she was like, it's a full school attached to it. I'm like, yeah, all right. So I went and toured it. Full facility. It's 41,000 square feet, cafeteria, basketball gym, 25 classrooms. I mean, a chapel, the whole nine. I mean, right smack dab in the middle of downtown Albany. And I said, this is insane. And I told her, I was like, well, I wish you would have told me this like a month or two ago, like before we bought these other buildings, because I don't have no money. I'm like, we don't have enough money to buy that building right now. We don't even have enough money for a down payment. She's like, well, can't we just figure something out? Can you just make some phone calls and call some people and see if the I was just like, all right, because I was already kind of exhausted my donors because I finally got a building, the resource center. So I'm up here making phone calls like, look, I really hate to do this, and I'm so sorry. I'm like, but I got
Like,
another
hey, man,
building.
I know we were just talking about this, but I had something else come up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, listen, it's a big building. It's everything that we need. Etc. But we raised a little money. I took some money out of my savings. I reached out to my kid's mom, and I was like, "Can you give me some out of that savings and my grandma's savings and my mama's savings?" And it just wasn't adding up. So I was just like, "Jesus Christ!" So one day I was just like, "Okay." I said, well, maybe I told him, I said, give me until Christmas. I said, I can raise some money. I can at least try and raise, the 50 grand by Christmas. I said, we can do that. We should be okay. So I said, I did it on Twitter. I didn't do a video. We didn't do a commercial. We didn't do anything. I just posted a picture of the boys. And I said, it was November. I said, we need to raise $50,000 by Christmas. If we can do that, we'll be able to renovate our school and get in this building. So I started raising money. First hour go by $1,000. 2 hours go by $3,000.
Right? This is 2020.
Yeah, this is in November. Yeah, in November. 3 hours go by $4,000. 5 hours go by $10,000. I'm like, all right. So 36 hours we raised the entire 50K. 36 hours, and we were able to close on the building. And now we're operating out there now. So now we have 4 buildings and 40 acres of land. All from us not being able to get that school building from the school system. So everything worked out, and way better, and now we have full facilities that we're working with now. We're working on the renovations for our building. We just got an inspection done on it. There's a lot that needs to be fixed there. It's not like major stuff. Like we need HVAC and things like that. Electricity works fine. Plumbing is good. We just it was an older building. The church part, the school part is a little newer. It's a little newer. It was added on to, but we're trying to work on that right now. So we got an inspection done. We're going to post a full inspection report for everybody to see. We're going to walk through the building with the inspector because we're going to have a volunteer day in March, volunteer weekend in March, for people who've been asking from all over the country, when can they come help, etc. So we'll have a full list of things that we need done. We'll have a wish list on Home Depot and Lowe's, for things that we'll need to, help start fixing the building. And during the volunteer weekend, we're just going to go in there and get to work. We're going to go in there painting and pulling up floors, and people who got HVAC companies can come fix the HVAC systems, and people who want to come work on the plumbing can do that, and people want to do floor, they can do that. Like we're going to have the whole nine for our school building. So I'm extremely excited about that. And I know people have been, ready to help us. So as long as we keep everybody in the loop and up to date, I'm excited about it. But yeah, that's what we have going on right now. So we like I said, we ended up in a better position, bigger building, more boys we can be able to serve now. So it's just been a beautiful journey. Seeing where we've come from my dining room all the way to us having 4 buildings and 40 acres of land, all just from hard work. And that's something that I believe in. We're completely people funded. We haven't been funded by any government systems, any grants, nothing. So I'll tell people all the time, I don't allow anybody to make any more excuses anymore. I'm like, if I could do it in 19 to 22, you guys can do it, at whatever ages you are and in whatever cities you're in. I come in from one of the poorest cities in the nation, and from one of the poorest neighborhoods in the poorest city, so, and I made it happen. So you guys can do it too. I don't allow anybody to make any more excuses anymore as to who and why we can't do these things. We can do it. Just gotta want to.
Wait, so you're telling me that you're not waiting for the government to come in and fix all this and help you build the school? Like, no, the government isn't helping at all?
Nope, no government assistance. No government assistance. If they want to come help, sure, that's fine. But at this point, I'm not going to beg and ask. If people have been reaching out now, for different grants and things like that, but I'm just like, of course, looking at the fine print and stuff like that. But whenever they decide to help, sure, we'll allow you to help, but we're not waiting either. We're going to go ahead and get to work regardless of you helping or not. So whenever the help does come in, that'd be great. But right now, we're going to continue doing our work regardless of who's helping and who's not.
That's weird, because I always thought that it's always government that makes these things happen. And of course, I'm being sarcastic, but
yeah,
but I mean, you're doing this without the government. And like you said, you wouldn't deny the help if they wanted to give you some, but
right.
You're not waiting on Uncle Sam to do anything. You got up and did this yourself, which should be a lesson to everybody. And I want to talk more about your vision for the school. But before I do, just to mention something else that doesn't rely on the government, don't forget to head on over to libertynation.com, a proud sponsor of A Fresh Perspective, where you can sign up for the daily briefing. You can read nuanced articles without the usual boring spin that you see everywhere else. You can subscribe to the Member Zone, or check out the latest cutting-edge conservative news and analysis. Always new and original material with a huge helping of nuance at libertynation.com. Conservative news where truth matters. Now, for the school, I mean, and it sounds like with the other building, how things broke down, it actually ended up working towards something that sounds like it's going to be even better. It reminds me of, what the word says, all things work together for the good. So even if it's something bad, it'll end up working out for the good. And it sounds like that's what's happening here. It sounds like things are progressing, and you're looking to open up in September. But what I want to ask you is, when this is all said and done, when you've got all of the HVAC fixed and all that stuff, your end goal, if you could make this happen tomorrow, like with the magic wand, what would this whole thing look like with your resource center, the school, the X for Boys? What would this look like?
Oh man, it's a loaded question. Well, first of all, the end goal is to see boys become protectors and providers in their community, protecting the women and children, and providing in their communities and building their communities. So all that comes with extreme discipline. All of them, when the school opens, will have certain habits they will end up developing because of the different things we'll have them doing in a repetitive nature, such as waking up at a certain time of the day, exercising, cleaning yourself, taking baths, reading at a certain time, going to school, all these different things, making sure that they're responsible for each other. All these things will develop habits for them. For example, one of the things that we're about to do now, we're about to go get maybe about $6,000 in $100 bills. And what we're going to do is give every child in the program a wallet with $100 in it. And what we're going to do is tell them that the wallet cannot get under $50. It has to be $50 in your wallet at all times. And if it gets less than $50, everybody in the program loses all their money. So this will create a type of responsibility for them that not only do your decisions affect you, they affect everybody else too. But this also will teach them also to work together on a level too. Because what'll happen is, hey bro, look, I only got $40. Can I borrow $10, to till next week to make it work? It'll force them to work together too, because they're like, I'm not trying to lose all my money. And no matter what's in their wallet, I don't care what's in their wallet, it gotta go. Everybody, it's coming with me. Everybody's money's getting taken. But that's going to cause them to be responsible for each other. It's going to cause them to have to take care of each other. They're going to have to communicate more, etc. They're going to have to communicate outside of the Extra Boys program. They have to communicate at school. They're going to be like, listen, bro, you got your $10. You got your $50. They're going to be checking each other. It's a responsibility thing. Your decisions affect everybody. So that's going to be a little fun little thing we're going to try to do with them. I'll see how long they last, but it's going to be interesting. But it also teaches them how to have money too, because a lot of kids, they have no clue how to have money. And people, I used to get like weirded out by people giving allowance, but I think that's extremely important for children to know how it is just to have some money in your pocket. Because once you don't have any money, like parents would give their kids like on a field trip maybe like $50 or something like that, and they go spend the entire $50 on snacks. They will go in the gas station and go in there and buy $50 worth of chips, candy, soda. Insane. That's why when they're with me, I don't allow them to spend any money. I'm like, you guys don't even need no spending money. I buy everything you guys need while you're with me. You don't need any spending money, because all you're going to do is go in the store and buy all this crap, and then you're not going to have any money, and then want more money. I'm like, that don't make no sense. You need to invest in stuff that's going to make you more money. So we're just trying to teach them how to benefit themselves. But with those all those hundreds, I'm gonna actually ask them how they want to invest it all too. Like, you guys want to put y'all money together and get y'all a vending machine or something and put it somewhere, and then you guys can like split the money a certain way, or like we're gonna figure it out. Like I want to teach them like how it is to work together and invest. Like, okay, look, how about all you guys? Put your money together, but you can get you $1,000, together. 10 of y'all with $100, get your $1,000 together. Y'all can go buy $1,000 worth of snacks or whatever like that. Y'all can sell snacks on the side of the road one day or something. Like, I want to make them work together to show them how much easier it is to work in a group versus by yourself. And people you may not be able to trust, people who may, steal the money, like they have to get those experiences now. Like I want them to experience how it is to be in business with other people too. But school, like I said, just it's so much to try and explain there, because as time goes by, I get more ideas and new things that I want to see them doing. Because I'm still growing myself. So I'm like, oh, the boys definitely need to learn that. Oh, they definitely need to learn that. Oh, I want them to become, like this, or like that. And I want them to be way better than I am, right now at 22. People are always like, oh, King, you're so cool, blah, blah, you're so young. I'm like, yeah, but when you see my boys, when they turn 22, going to be unstoppable. They're going to be unstoppable. And that's what I want to see happen with them. But, the school and the Extra Boys program, the Resource Center, we're also trying to create here at the Resource Center a way for parents to grow to. Because what happens is, I teach these boys all these great things, and then they go home and unlearn everything. So I have to teach parents, give them classes, teach them about finances, give them, parenting classes, etc. That from people who are trained in these areas, because I need them to grow too. I believe in growing the entire family for them. I force the parents to work together. I force them to call each other. I force them to have nights out. Like we have a dinner for all the moms next Saturday, for them to just sit down and mingle and talk amongst each other, etc. And allow me to get onto them. I get onto the parents all the time about certain things.
You're like creating a community, essentially. But this is a
community. Yeah, it's just a full community. Yep, exactly. And one of the requirements for the parents, for the kids to come to the school, is they have to take certain classes at least twice a month. You have certain classes you have to take for this child to attend this school. You have to take them. The school will remain free, but you got to take these classes because you have to develop yourself as well. We have exercise programs for the moms that we're about to implement. They're going to start going walking, because I have a lot of parents that are overweight as well as boys that are overweight, because they're about to start working out every day before we begin book club and every day before we begin conflict corner and stuff like that. So I'll start my days at about right now we start from 6 to 7:30, but then I'll start them at 5 to 7:30 then, because from 5 to 6 we'll work out, and then from 6 to 7:30 we'll work on our book club or conflict corner or what have you. So I just want to make sure the boys are in shape, their moms are in shape, teaching them how to grow their own food, like literally just trying to create a full community for these families. So that way they have the school is not just for the boys, it's for everybody. It's for everybody to develop themselves. And that's what I want to create, like across Georgia, across the country, like those type of, little funnels of communities. That's what should be able to happen. These people, should be able to thrive with these schools. It should be a place for the parents to grow too. So like I said, that question is so loaded, I could just go everywhere with that. But yeah, I definitely see it doing, something super great. It's just you have to kind of see it in action yourself and watch me work. So,
well, and the reason I ask that is because there is so much that you can do. Like there's stuff that you haven't even thought of yet that you're going to be doing.
Exactly.
That's exciting about this whole thing, because it's easy to see how this is just so much better than the status quo. I mean, public schools can't do this. They're not even intended to. They're there to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and they either do a good job of it or they don't. But what you're doing, you are building a community. And my other question is, you got the parents involved, so you got them relearning things or learning things for the first time. Do you see this expanding to girls? Because right now you just focus on boys. Do you see this expanding to girls, or do you see this going that direction, or are you just going to strictly focus on men for right now?
Well, for me, yes, for me, I'll only be teaching boys, but of course I plan to find a partner, that, does, things in that arena, that teaches girls, etc. And then, maybe partner with them and open an all girls school, Life Prep for Girls. I do plan to do that eventually. So
Mhm.
hopefully that happens in the future. But as for right now, as for me, I only teach boys. Of course, we'll have women working at the school. We will actually have a head mistress. My administrator will be our principal for the school. Of course, I'll be the chief instructor, but she'll be the principal. You have to see her in action. Like she does that. She's worked with college football. She has a master's degree, and she was a coach, in college football. So she
Oh, okay.
has a lot of experience, working with boys, and it's a lot. So you should see her have to discipline them. She's a little worse than me sometimes, but yeah, she's the truth. But yeah, so we'll have a lot of women at the school, of course, because they need to be around women as well as men. But definitely want to make sure we're saturating the area with a good balance of men and women. It's just boys are surrounded by women their entire lives. Their teachers are women, their moms, their aunts. A lot of them don't have dads. So all of them, are just, you know, super. That's the real toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is just a lack of it. It's a lack of masculinity. It's too
Right.
much femininity. They need a balance. They're missing that. So when they're missing that balance, they have that toxic masculinity that people talk about. So definitely want to make sure we have that. And like I said, I definitely want to start an all girls thing eventually. I do believe boys and girls need to be taught separately. I also would like to try and create families amongst these children as well, between the all boys school and the all girls school. Eventually as they get older in the higher grades, pair them together in like certain like having to work together with certain things or whatever, in hopes of them starting relationships, etc., and creating families based off of what we taught them,
Well, you're gonna have some
for the
arranged
six or
marriages,
seven.
huh?
Exactly. We want to create those types of families and relationships, for those boys and girls. And I'll be confident in that, because we're starting with sixth graders, and we're moving them all the way up to 12th grade. That's what we're going to start with. So we know the school will be full of children that literally for 6 years have been taught all of these principles. So if I have a 6 year 12th grader and a 6 year 12th grader in the girls school and the boys school, I have no problem with pairing them, because I know they've been taught the principles that we've given them. So and I would love for them to create, relationships and families, or what have you, get married, etc. That's what I want to see. And that'll be something so beautiful, because we taught them both, how to have a family, how to, be a husband, be a wife, etc. That'll be something, so beautiful that I would love to see. Of course, we're not going to say, hey, you got to marry that person, nothing like
Right.
that, but we would pair them in hopes of, having something like that, and teaching them how to work together as well. So
You'll foster the environment, basically.
exactly, I just want to foster the environment for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was joking earlier, but what you're saying actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, because
Hmm.
it relationships work better, and we've talked about this, but relationships work better when you have very foundational core values in common. I
Yep,
mean,
absolutely.
there's got to be some area of commonality. I mean, it's a reason why a lot of people who work together who end up getting married, whether it works or not. There
Yep.
has to be something foundational that you guys have in common that can bring people together. So I wish I would have asked that earlier in this interview, because I wanted to actually dive more into that, but I know we don't have time,
Yes,
but
sir.
maybe another time. But I think
Absolutely.
that, yeah, I think that's great. Um, One thing I wanted to ask, because you are a very, very busy guy, very busy. I mean, you talked
Hmm.
earlier about how they can text you whenever they want, and you'll answer. 2 in the morning, resolving disputes. And if you're growing, you're not gonna be able to do this all by yourself. So
Of
do you
course
have,
not.
yeah, and you mentioned the headmistress that is going to be the headmistress. What does your team look like? Do you have more people that are doing what you're doing, or are you in the process of maybe raising some people up or bringing some people on? Or
Yeah, so right now we're vetting, of course. Travis also works with me. Travis is in the Atlanta area, but I'm down in Albany for the most part. Right now, I can kind of manage all the boys. It's not hard for me right now, but of course, as we grow and the school opens, we have other instructors that will be, assisting. I have to train those instructors as well in the art of doing what I do and how I do it. So of course, we'll be training instructors as well as having those teachers, etc. But right now, we're just vetting. Of course, I'm going to have other men that can fill in for these different things, because the type of environment that we're going to have, with the boarding school, when they get out of school, some of them will have choices on what they can do during the evening. Like they'll decide whether they want to go work out or where they want to go to the gym or where they want to go to the pool or they want to go to the library. I need people that can bus them to these different places, get in the van, drive them wherever they need to go, and also make sure my boys are learning to respect everyone outside of me, because I've dealt with that before too. Like my boys, they'll listen to me, they'll be disciplined with me, but if I have someone that try to come watch them or something, they don't give them the same respect. So I have to kind of deal with that as well, and teaching them that it's not just me that you have to respect. You have to respect everybody that I put in position, because if I put them in position, usually whatever they're telling you is coming from me. So I always have to reiterate to them that if you're not listening to them, you're not listening to me, and you're gonna piss me off, and you're not gonna like it. My boys really hate making me upset. They really do. And that's one thing I do take advantage of all the time, because they hate to see me disappointed. They hate to
Right.
see me upset with them, and I make sure they feel it too when I don't approve of something that they may do. And actually, you'll see the job interview workshop in about as soon as I get off of here, it'll be posted probably about 11:05 or so, like that. We did a job interview workshop this past weekend. I cut the job interview workshop short because they would not stop talking in the holding area, etc. So I cut the job interview short. I took off my suit and I went outside and ran them to death. And it's on video, so you'll get to see all of it. But yeah, so I was like, we'll just reschedule it, but I had a lot of things I had to say to them, and they ran for about an hour and a half, doing high knees and running and just a lot of annoying games. I like to call it. I like calling it playing games, fun games. So that's what we do when they get in trouble. But yeah, just that's what I have to do. I have to make sure I do my job. And when they have to get disciplined, I don't wait for it. They get disciplined immediately. Anytime they do something, I don't care where we are. They will get disciplined wherever they at. So that's what I have to deal with. But that's about it, man.
That is important. And I would suspect that when you bring more people on who are as devoted as you are, they're going to get that respect on their own, because the kids are going to see, oh, he's like King. He cares about me. This person wants you to succeed. So, I mean, there's so much more. I know we don't have time, but last couple of questions. What is the biggest obstacle you guys are facing right now as far as getting to where you want to go? I know it's progressing. I know it's going fine, but like, what is the hardest thing that you're having to overcome right now?
Like just as an organization?
Yes. Like as far as getting to where you want it to be.
Right now, just renovating our school. Once we get that done, I mean, we good to go. And we can get the ball rolling. That's literally it. I don't really have any other major issues that I'm dealing with right now. I mean, things in my personal life, of course, but as far as the organization, man, all that is just renovating this school. And like I said, and I don't even really say it's an obstacle right now, because I think we can make it happen easily. It's just as long as we keep people in the loop and up to date, sending out emails to our subscribers, etc. Just making sure people stay up to date with what we're doing. I don't even believe that'll be a major obstacle. It just depends on how high we step, So we definitely got to step really high to get over it. And I think that's about it, man. Other than that, I don't really have any major issues, and we're doing fine. Our school bus is running great. I mean, just everything's going well. So just kind of keeping that everything else intact and trying to renovate the school. That's about it.
Okay. So how can people support you? How can people help you? People who are watching this, because any organization needs money, right, or other types of support. So how can they support the X for Boys and the school that you're building and everything that you're doing as far as your mission goes?
Absolutely. You can follow us at the xforboys.org. That's THE, the letter X, FORBOYS.org. You can go there to see how to volunteer, see how to donate. You can go check out our videos, go check out some of our pictures of things we've taught the boys, etc. Also, you can go there to check out the I'm a Man March. That'll be April 30th through May 1st. We'll have men coming from all over the country to march in unity against the status quo of all of this division. We'll be there having conversations amongst all men from different races, religions, political affiliations, etc. There to make sure that we all understand that we don't really disagree on a whole lot. It's what the media does to us, and most men want the same thing, and that's our communities to be better. So we'll be marching in unity on May 1st, and April 30th we'll have the convention. We'll have different speakers, etc. But this is for all men from all over the country, and you can visit IamAManMarch.org to sign up for that. You can register for the march. The march is free. The convention is not. The convention is $100 to enter. We'll have vendors. We'll have lots of people there. We'll have hopefully Liberty Media there. We'll have Jeff there on Media Row. So that'll be fun. Lawrence Jones will be there. We have a lot of people we're trying to confirm to come and speak at the I Am a Man March. So this will be great. And it's $200 for the gold ticket to get into the gold ticket dinner, which will include all the guest speakers as well as networking opportunities and a dinner. So I look forward to people coming to that and coming to meet me and coming to meet all of those guest speakers as well. So those are the two things you can follow us on. Is the extraboys.org. And if you want to find out about the march, you can go to iamamanmarch.org. So that's all I have.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Honestly, I feel like we've discussed a lot of stuff, but I feel like there's just so much more. So we have to do this again because there's.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're talking, there's other questions that I want to ask. So
you got to fly to Albany, and then we can do this in person at the school.
I've been meaning to get out there, so maybe this year I'll make it happen, or even if it's just for the March too, because I want to know more about what you're doing. But I know a lot about what you're doing, but I haven't seen it up close. So I do want to see it up close with my own eyes, because then I can. It'll make it easier for me to let other people know about what you're doing.
Right.
But
absolutely.
But we'll have to have you back on again. But thank you very much, King Randall, for joining me, and we'll hit you up next time.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.